Hey, everybody. It's Chef Evelyn, and I am back for another installment in the Chef Care series. And I'm really enjoying this series. I hope that you are too. If you are watching the replay of this, just know that there is a playlist on my channel that has all of these videos in it. And you can always drop your comments, questions, and takeaways in the comment section even after I go live. So I'm super excited today because I thought today would be a perfect opportunity to just come on here and dialogue with you. We had such a great dialogue yesterday in our live stream where we talked about stop being cheap with yourself, okay? And so I thought, you know what, today, why don't we do a live Q&A? I'd love to take your questions about self-care for women culinary entrepreneurs. I'd love to take your questions about culinary entrepreneurship. If you have questions about me, about the Chef's Table experience, any of the videos that you've seen on this channel, would love to kind of have a dialogue going back and forth. I wanted to come on a little bit earlier today because tonight I meet with my private one-on-one clients in their intimate group. So definitely want to make sure that I, am on time and early for that. Because like we said yesterday, if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. And if you're late, you get left. Okay. So why don't we jump right in? If you are watching for the first time, welcome. I'm Chef Evelyn. I'm a culinary brand strategist that helps women live, cook, and work on their own terms by teaching them how to build high-end culinary brands. That's who I am. You can read more about me at chefevelyn.com. But today is all about you and your questions. So if you want to put your questions, comments, concerns in the chat box, or if you're watching the replay, it may give me an idea for another video. You can go ahead and do that. I know that there's a couple of you watching right now, so if you want to put your questions in, that'd be great. If we don't get any questions, then I don't know what we're going to talk about today. Like yesterday, I felt like, like it was like divine intervention. That topic came to me. Today, I just was like, I was like, okay, what would be of the most service to, my community here, or, those of you that are watching live, those of you that watch the replay. And I was like, you know what, sometimes we don't have all the answers like we talked about yesterday, and so it's okay to ask. It's like, what do you need? Do you have a video request? Do you have something that you want to share that you're like, Evelyn, I've been meaning to tell you this or ask you this? Let me know what your questions are, and I'm gonna take a sip of water really quickly because I know that there's a little bit of a delay. I'm going to take a sip of water before we jump right in to give you time to type your questions in. So 1 second. Okay. We are hydrated. The vocal cords are lubricated. We're making progress on the office. So there's less and less boxes. We're getting somewhere. Okay, we're getting somewhere. For those of you who don't know, I recently moved like 2 weeks ago. And so that's what we're doing. So let's see if we have any questions or comments. You can ask me anything. It's kind of one of those things. In the meantime, I'll just kind of share a little bit more about this series while I wait for your questions to come in. So I decided to do this series, which I feel like was very, it was a little bit of a risk on this channel because I talk a lot about the nuts and bolts of, culinary entrepreneurship for women, and, multiple streams of income, how to get high-end clients, how to build a high-end culinary brand, how to charge premium prices in your food business. And what I realized from, previous clients that I've had, current clients, that it always boiled down to, the kind of life that they wanted. Like, why are you here? Like, why do you watch these videos? Why do you want to build this business? And, what I can tell you is that the money is just a means to an end, right? Money is just a tool, right? It's a great tool, to have, but it's a tool that's leveraged to get other things. And what I found often, not where people spend so much energy and effort and sometimes frustration trying to just bulk up this tool that they weren't using it to do for what it was designed to do, whatever that was in their lives. So I really wanted to spend this time chatting about, like, okay, what's underneath all of the business building? What really drives you? Are you really leaning into taking care of yourself, or have you bought into the entrepreneur myth of like hustle and grind? So today, wanted to do a live Q&A about, you know, self-care, culinary entrepreneurship. Listen, I don't see any questions or comments. So, if y'all are like, listen, Evelyn, I don't have any questions or comments, that's totally fine. We can wrap this thing up. And maybe I might I might take a nap before I do my coaching tonight. I'm so excited because we are wrapping up in my chef's table, like my one-on-one clients. We are wrapping up their Q1 planning and action plans. So we definitely like we spend a lot of time talking about like marketing and client retention and things like that for their business, but we also do like planning for their year. We talk about the revenue goals. Like if you've got a business coach and they're not talking to you about like dollars and cents, and where projections and where you need to go and all that kind of stuff, you might want to reevaluate. So I'm excited to do that. I used to try to plan like a year out at a time, and that doesn't really work for me because a lot can change in a year. So I have like an overall, like, okay, here's the top 3 or 4 big things I want to do in the year. And then it's a matter of, okay, planning like 90 days at a time, because you can change, life can change, the world can change. We saw what happened in 2020. So things can change. So listen, what was I going to say? I forgot what I was going to say. Oh my goodness, I forgot just that quick. Anyway, so self-care questions, business questions, lifestyle questions. The floor is yours to ask. How are you guys handling the holidays? I know that this is traditionally a busy season for us. Or particularly if you're still working in the culinary field, this is a busy, busy season. And I remember, Black Butterfly says, I don't have a question, but I always appreciate the information that you share. Oh, it's my pleasure. Yes. Thank you so much for being here. I just remember like working for places during this time of the year, and they were like, you literally can't take off November 1st through like Valentine's Day. Like they were just like, until we get past Valentine's Day, blackout, nobody can take vacation, all that kind of stuff. And I just remember being like, no. Okay. And some people, it's just the new year, right? But I remember hitting the top of the new year, which is when my birthday is, and just being so exhausted. The holidays were a blur. I was tired. And I was just like, I don't want to do this, right? And you know what? Okay. Also, thoughts, commentaries, questions, if you will. I want to share with you guys when I realized that self-care had to be like a lifestyle and not a date on the calendar. Some of you may know this, some of you may not. In 2016, I was diagnosed with cancer. And I remember being kind of taken aback because I felt fine, right? So I was asymptomatic. But without going into all the details, obviously you get that kind of diagnosis and life changes immediately. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I was in treatment 5 days a week. I had 50,000 doctors. I had all these doctor's bills. I had all these supplements. I had all these things, right? And I remember thinking to myself, like, okay, it's not a game. I can't continue to work myself to the bone, to the point where now I am unwell. And I remember I had asked my doctor, like, how could I have, all these years have normal tests, no signs of anything, particularly for the type of cancer that I was diagnosed with. And she said, stress. And I remember, being off work, being at home, and really taking some time to sit and pray and think and reflect and go, okay, if they said that stress was the cause, then no stress or low stress is the cure, right? Yes, lots of other things went into it. Like, I'm not trying to minimize it all. But I remember really at that point needing to redesign my life in a way that minimized the stresses that I could control. Life happens. People pass away. A worldwide pandemonium, right? All different types of things happen. But I remember at that moment saying, I can't keep going at a breakneck pace. I think at that point, I had just taken a vacation like the summer before, but before that, I hadn't taken a vacation in 7 years. And I remember the therapist I had at the time was like, absolutely not. Don't you ever go that long without taking a vacation. And she was like, you can't even run your car that long. You can't even run your computer that long. That is the quickest way to end up, unwell or in the hospital. But I think the reason why I'm so passionate about self-care as a lifestyle, and I'm not just talking about, sleep and bubble baths and candles. I'm talking about minimizing stress. I'm talking about having a system for self-care, that self-care is the lens in which I make my decisions, and the way that I establish my life, and the way I maneuver through life. Because I was too young. I mean, I guess there were people that were younger, but I was like, how did I end up here? If you would have asked me in a million years, right, would I ever think that I would have been diagnosed with cancer? I would have been like, no, of course not. I was like, I eat organic, I don't eat this, I don't eat that, blah, 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 blah. I use clean this, clean that. And that's part of it, right? Detoxification. But I said, she told me stress got me there. And I said, okay. And I kind of went on this, like, it was kind of like a massive declutter, but not a declutter of things, a declutter of a way of life, if you will. Like, I really started going through every single area of my life and doing what I call cleaning up the micro and the macro stressors, and then putting what I call a system in place. I have this like 9-part system for creating a self-care strategy, if you will. And I literally went through every area of my life and was like, okay, let's walk through. Oh, so we just gonna have loud planes in the air. Do y'all hear that? It's loud. I remember just walking through and cleaning that all up. And then, like, every couple of months now, I go through and I review the system. And it's because I remember that T.D. Jakes once said, which I quote him a lot. I used to go to his church for 9 years. I mean, a while ago, but for 9 years, I was a member of the Potter's House. And I remember being not at a Sunday service, but he was doing like a conference for like budding entrepreneurs. So this was, I mean, oh my gosh, this had to be like before 2010. And one of the things he said that I have never ever forgotten, is he was like, success requires a system. In any area in your life, success requires a system. Whether you want success in your business, whether you want success in your marriage, whether you want success in your friendships, whether you want success in your relationships, whether you want success in your finances, whatever area of life that you desire to be, whatever you deemed successful, you need a system for that. And here's the thing, I remember hearing him and being like, okay, but I remember thinking that like success was like the luck of the draw, right? And It's not. It's a system, and I think when we have been groomed to be employees from preschool all the way through college, through a master's degree or beyond, right? We are taught that system, right? And to learn the entrepreneurial system is it like it can be foreign to us. And even the concept of self-care, America runs at a breakneck pace, right? Our lifestyle is work before everything. And I remember I was working for a company and they used to take like these annual trips to different countries to learn about their cuisines and, try to bring back some of their staple ingredients and staple dishes and things like that and really wanting to be authentic, right? And I remember they went to, I think was it Italy that year or Greece that year? I think it was Italy. And I remember them being shocked because whatever town they were in Italy, had this culture where at 5 o'clock every day, everything shut down. Everything in the city shut down, or in this small town shut down. And it didn't reopen until 8 p.m. Okay. So if you wanted to go out to dinner, it was going to be after 8 o'clock, or it was going to be 4 or 5 o'clock, right? And the philosophy of this small town was like, that's family time, that's dinner time. So the whole town would shut down, right? And so when they finally would go out to eat, let's say at like 8 o'clock, right? They were like, the meal was served course by course, very relaxed, very slowly. It wasn't this rush, 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 hustle, 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 because they were like, you need time to savor the food, enjoy the food, chew the food well, digest the food, and then move on to the next offering, right? And I was like, I wonder what my life would be like if I oriented my life around self-care and not around work. That work became just a part of my life, but not the bulk of my life, right? And it's so funny because it was so hard to imagine what that looked like because, in the United States, it's like work is your focus. When you meet somebody new, it's, well, what do you do for a living? Well, what do you do for a living? And everything is about work, all day, every day is spent at work. When you get home, you're thinking about work. Sunday night before you go back to work, you're thinking about work. It's like work, 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 work. Like, we don't have to be Rihanna. Work, work, work. I'm not a singer. So I remember just being like, okay, I remember just the folks asking myself the question, okay, if I was to orient my life around self-care and rest and recreation and relationships versus orienting my life around work, what would that look like, right? And I even remember like it going down to even the way I had set up my home office, that I had this whole room and I was like, you know what? Yes, I need a place to work and do what I do, but I was like, I don't want that to take up the bulk of the room, right? Like I was like, I want this room to also be a place to rest and relaxation. And so even in the way I schedule my day, schedule my week, schedule my year, it is a self-care first, and then work comes later kind of thing. Not that work's not important, not that work's not an essential part of our lives, but it was really like changing my perspective around like, why is everything work first? Who taught us that? What kind of life is that, right? I think about people who wait to do things until they retire, assuming that they are going to live long enough to retire. And we've all heard the stories about people, they waited till they retired and then they passed away a month after they were retired because they weren't working. And so all the things that they ever wanted to do, like they didn't get to do. And I just was like, I don't want to do that. And so with that, that's why I have this like self-care curriculum that goes with the Chef's Table experience, because I don't want the women that I've been entrusted to support in their business to sacrifice their quality of life for their business. Their business is important. It is important that they have direction and strategy and support, and that they earn great income, but also, or I should, and also more importantly, is I'm more concerned about the quality of their lives. And so I challenge them when they're doing things. Do you really want to do that? Why are you doing that? Okay, is that getting you where you want to go? Right. So with that being said, let me know any questions, comments. I really didn't have a topic for today. I think I've been kind of on here rambling for about 20 minutes and seemed to pull out a troll, but we made it. So let me know, like, do you orient your life around self-care and relationships and play and pleasure and rest? Or do you orient your life around work first and everything second? Right? I remember even when I was making that transition, let me know in the comments. I remember when I was making that transition, even in my planner, right? Like really deciding that I'm going to put the things that will build relationships in my life, the things that will bring me rest and relaxation, the things that play and pleasure. I remember having to say, put those on the calendar first and then stick work on there afterwards, right? Just to really try to get my mind to really lean into the idea of self-care first. Madeline says the information you provide is always appreciated. I'm so glad that y'all are enjoying this. I think I'm going to do this until the end of next week. And then we'll see. I'll be off on a 3-week winter sabbatical, and I'll come back, I think, the second week of the new year. But I'm excited. I'm excited for this series that I'm doing. Like I said, it just came to me, one weekend, and I was like, let's do it. And then I'm also excited, about, the women that it's, supportive to. Black Butterfly says, I started orienting my life around self-care in the past 3 years. Yeah, it's just a different way of doing life. And here's the thing. Some people don't orient their life around work. Some people orient their life around healing. And while therapy and self-development, and while all that's important too, it can almost feel like a second job, if you're just like, okay, everything is about healing is so important. But again, right, it's kind of why I never called myself a cancer patient, because I didn't want to orient my life around that experience. I say that I was diagnosed. You never hear me say that I fought cancer. You never hear me say that I was a cancer patient or that I survived cancer, because I don't want to orient my identity around something that I experienced, right? So I'm so glad to hear that you started orienting your life around self-care in the past 3 years. It's a different way of moving throughout the world. Madeline says, I used to be about all work, but now I'm slowly shifting to my more work revolve around my life, if that's understandable. Absolutely. Like one of the things that I do with the women in the chef's table is we start off designing their life first, and then making sure that we build a business that bends around the life versus building this hardcore rigid business and then trying to bend their life around the business, right? So I totally understand that. And it is, it's such a hard concept for some people to grasp if they haven't done it or if they haven't seen it, because, we were, as a culture, as an American culture, groomed. Everything was about, what do you want to do when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up? Go to college, get a good job. It was all about work. And there was not a lot of emphasis on, what do you want your life to look like? What do you want your life to feel like, right? What do you want to do when you're not working, right? And not just sitting in front of the TV for 5 or 6 hours a day, getting home at 5 o'clock and then watching TV from, 5 to 10:30, right? 5, 6, 7 nights a week, right? And so orienting your life around self-care and being really clear about what it is. People will put up like their self-care routine videos, and they're cute, they're entertaining to watch, but it's like self-care is not a one size fits all. And even with yourself, that what you needed in one season will change in your next season of life and will change in another season, right? And as you experience life and different things happen, will also change. So listen, I'm so excited that y'all are starting the process or are already well into the journey of orienting your life around rest, play, pleasure, relationships, right? Madeline says, when I started my personal chef business earlier this year and having a full-time culinary job, I was getting no days off and I only had 2 clients. I decided to put a break on that for the holidays. Yeah, because here's the thing, I remember when I was a personal chef, um, I looked at that business model, right, which is very popular. Like, personal chefing is a very popular business model because I think it's a easy first step for people when they're going from being an employee to entrepreneur, right? It's kind of like, okay, I can cook. It doesn't require like, it's not much different than maybe something that we've already been doing. But when I really looked at the infrastructure, like most, personal chef services are what I call 5x2, right? So 5 days worth of meals for 2 weeks at a time. Well, if you do the math on that, once you get 10 clients, you're locked in, right? Because you're going to do 5 one week, 5 the next week, go back to the first 5, then do the next 5, right? Assuming you're only working 5 days a week. And I saw a lot of holes in that model. Which was one, you kind of get capped with your income. 2, you get capped with the amount of clients that you can have, right? Also, if you have to stop working, the money stops coming. And I remember working at a catering company when I was like fresh out of culinary school. And I remember the owner was significantly older than me at the time. I think he might have been like 20 years my senior. And so he wanted to retire, right? And he kind of had like a really small scale catering company. Like it was just him and like me. And then occasionally he would bring in servers or what have you, right? And I remember him wanting to retire. And he was like, but if I stop working, the money stops working. The money stops flowing. And he was like, if I take off, if I go on vacation, the money stops coming, right? And then he was like, and I want to retire, but if I retire, where's the money going to come from? So the only option that he had was to try to sell his catering business. And, he wanted to sell like his contracts, his equipment, his recipes, things like that. And I remember him asking me if I wanted to buy it, right? And I remember thinking, if this is the situation that you're in, I can play the movie and be like, I will be in that same situation. And, at that time I wasn't orienting my life around self-care, but I was very aware like that format was not going to work. You know what I mean? And so I think it's a great transition to get started. But if you really want to, have longevity as a culinary entrepreneur, you really have to start thinking about business formats that don't 100% rely on you to be in the kitchen all the time. And, that is something that I don't see being taught. That's why I created the Chef's Table, because I was like, when I got diagnosed with cancer, I was so grateful that I had already put other income streams in place that I could either do from home or didn't necessarily require me because they had already been done. That brought in income, because I was just like, I'm out of commission. I'm back and forth to doctor's appointments and treatments and things like that. And so, so I would say, it's a great way to get your feet wet into culinary entrepreneurship. But, one of the things I do with my clients is we get really clear about what is a good fit for them. Right. And I help them explore business models that they may not have considered before. And we, if they're not already doing that, we build that out. Oh, I missed this comment from Madeline. Revisit my life in the business and see how I can move forward without burning myself to death. Listen. Okay. And here's the thing, I'm not one of those people that when I talk about people being burnt out, all that, like, I'm not doing it in a judgmental way. Sometimes we don't know another way, right? Sometimes we only know the way that others have shown us. And so we think that's just the way it is. And I will say one of the things about my personality is I've never been good with that's just how things are. Like, that has never been a good enough reason for me to do anything, right? Like, well, that's just how it is. What's that, Sue? Where is it written? And so I'm more so interested in showing women that there's another way, even if they don't know. Like, and here's the thing: sometimes we know, like in our nowhere, like I call it in our nowhere, like we may not know what it is, but we know what we're doing. This ain't it, right? Like this can't be it. There's got to be something different. There's something's going on, right? And so yeah, like that's my whole goal. That's why I'm here. That's why I do these videos. That's why I created the chef's table, is because I want to show people that there's another way. And I think I've talked before about one of my clients that when she came to me, she swore up and down that she just wanted to do dinner parties, right? And that I was like, okay, but we got really clear about how she wanted to live first, and it, like, the two didn't match, and we've built her a culinary tourism company because that's actually more in line with her lifestyle, right? And she never even thought about that as an option. I mentioned another, my client came to me and she just thought, oh, she just wanted to do, she just wanted to do cooking classes, right? Even though she had been a nurse for 20 plus years and all these things, she just thought, okay, yeah, I'll just do cooking classes. And that's a part of her business model. But like, she's doing like holistic culinary / health coaching, which is a much higher ticket, which she can then take that curriculum and license it to doctor's office, right? Like we are building companies, not side businesses. You know what I'm saying? Oh, Stephanie's here. Hi, Stephanie. Stephanie says it's so important to talk this talk. We glorify burnout, but ease is possible. Ease is possible, and ease is the way. And here's the thing: when I talk about ease, I'm not talking about being lazy. I'm not talking about sitting in the corner going, and then the money will come, right? I'm definitely saying, there definitely has to be some consistency. There definitely has to be some discipline. There definitely has to be some strategy, right? And there has to be some work ethic. But this, like, no pain, no gain, grind it out. I'll sleep when I'm dead. It's gonna send you right there, right? That you have to be mindful of the words that you say and mindful of, the things that you speak. So I guess I didn't have a topic today, but it's like orienting your life around self-care. And I feel like I kind of talked about this in one of the earlier live streams, but I'm gonna say some things that I'm pretty sure people may just unsubscribe and log off. But when I look at certain models that have been put in front of us, owning a restaurant, which most people will never have the capital for, right? Not saying it's not possible. I'm not the coach for that because I've never owned a restaurant. When I look at that, most people who have a food blog will never hit, that multiple 6-7 figures because it is an excessive amount of free with the hopes of getting something in return. I feel like that model is flawed at best. I think it's been, glorified. And I think the people who don't necessarily want to be a chef or didn't go to culinary school, but they still love food, I think they think that that's the only route available to them, is to do a food blog because they like to cook. And it's so funny. I had a client this summer and we did a VIP day intensive with her. And like, amazing mom, amazing, like, home cook, all this kind of stuff, right? And we realized, like, she wasn't a blogger. She was a really bomb food writer and also a great food photographer and food stylist. And I was like, you're out here just giving away your recipes, giving away your skill sets with the hopes that people will click on a couple of links. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then, we see the memes going around where people are like, I don't want to read your whole life story. Just give me the recipe. And it's because that industry has trained people to be entitled, that you just give them what they want for free, right? Now, I'm not trying to turn upside down that whole industry. Like, people love it. They love food blogging. There's conferences about it. I've spoken at those conferences, right? I sit on the board of one of those conferences that really helps people do food blogging, and you can make money at it. But the people who make money at it have other, are we going to focus? There we go. They have other revenue streams, right? Which is what I talk about, building other revenue streams. And so, I feel like that model is a little bit flawed. I definitely think personal chefing is a great starter, like getting your toe into culinary entrepreneurship. But my question is the sustainability of it. You'll work 5 days a week, 4 weeks a month, but it won't work for you, meaning like that's as much as you'll ever be able to work. And so if you do that for the next 10 years, 20 years, what happens when you retire, right? Like all of that work, and then when you leave, it leaves with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so I'm like, how do we build companies? How do we go from being chefs for hire, freelance chefs, right? Chef on demand, to being CEOs of our culinary company, because that also is a form of self-care. Because even being on the hamster wheel of like, when am I going to get my next client? When am I going to get my next client? When am I going to get my next client? Can be exhausting. And then also in the stress of, if I want to take off, if I get sick, if something happens, if I want to take a vacation, if I don't want to work this week, I got to take a hit financially. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, it doesn't have to be that way. So again, like I said, I think there's some great programs out there that are for people who are in that season. But my clients, they kind of look around real quick and they be like, you know what? Either I tried that or I thought about that. And that's not really where I'm at. When I tell people, if all you want to do is meal prep, then go for that. I'm just probably not the coach for you, right? The women that work with me, they're not 20. Well, I have one client that's in her 20s, but she's in her later 20s, right? But they have established careers, they have established lives, and they're just like, I'm not out here just trying to figure something out, right? And I will say this, having a strategy, having a plan, having guidance is a form of self-care. They definitely prioritize self-care. They definitely prioritize rest. Um, you know, and they want to build companies, not side businesses, right? They want to build companies, not self-employed jobs, because there is a difference between being self-employed and being an entrepreneur, right? Most chefs, foodies, whatever you want to call them, are being taught how to be self-employed, which is fine, right? Like that's a great transition. But y'all are smart women. You can look at that model and go, but what is this going to look like in 5 years? In 10 years? Like, what am I going to be doing then? And the scary part about it is I think people are waiting till they get to that point before trying to figure out what comes next, right? And, that was kind of my story. I remember I had wanted to go to culinary school for so long. I mean, it was like, that was like the goal for so long, right? And so I remember it was about 3 months before I was getting ready to graduate from culinary school. And one of my friends from my engineering job, she was like, so what's the plan now? And I have been so focused on just, I want to go to culinary school. I want to go to culinary school. I want to go to culinary school. I hadn't really thought past graduation. And so I spent the next couple of years fumbling through, like, oh my God, this really bit me in the butt to not have a plan, right? To not have a strategy, to not have guidance. Like, I was just like, sometimes it makes me sad, like the years of my life that I lost because I was so frustrated and confused. Like I had just thought about, I just want to be a chef and I want to be my own boss. And I never really thought about, well, what does that look like? And how does that work? And what do I need to do to prepare myself for that? And what kind of business model is going to be the best for me, if this is going to be what my lifetime career is, right? So let me see what Stephanie says. Stephanie says, right, knowing your business is fine when you're off is also self-care. Because let me tell you, I've been off for 2 weeks and the invoices still got paid. Okay. Sales was still coming through, right? And when I'm off over the break, right, stuff will still be coming in. And so, Yeah, the culinary industry, the hospitality industry has definitely been taught this very like, it's kind of like quick cash, right? Um, you go, you cook for somebody, you get paid, but then it's like a hamster wheel, right? It's like a hamster wheel, and so yeah, I don't know. I'm not into it. I feel like there's so many more ways to monetize your passion for food that fit in line with your life, that fit in line with that self-care approach to life. That's why that's why I love what I do. I love what I do. I love my clients. I love the businesses that they have, the businesses that they're building, the businesses that they're expanding. I absolutely love it. So yeah, and it's funny because most of them say, okay, I've done the meal prep, I've done the small event catering, I've done the dinner parties, and I like that, and that's cool, and that's fine. But what's next? What's next? And because they know if they look up and be like, oh, I'll get to that later, it'll be a year later, it'll be 2 years later, it'll be 5 years later, and it will have bitten them in the butt. Because let me ask you this, okay? Let me know if you're anything like me. I remember, have you ever written some down, let's say like in a journal? I don't know if you're a journalist. I'm a journaler. And you come back across something that you wrote 3 years ago, 5 years ago, and you were like, I still haven't done that? Like I wrote that 3 years ago. Or maybe you finally did it and you were like, I had that idea 6 years ago, right? Like what took me so long to move in that direction? And you think about, what was I doing in the meantime? And one of my favorite quotes, well, it's not a quote, but it's like a mindset. Is like the time is going to pass either way. Like time stops for no one. The time is going to pass either way, and you can spend more time, assuming that you will have time, right? And we know that that's not guaranteed. Assuming that you can be outdoors, we know that we now know that that's not a guarantee, or right. And I just decided, I told myself as a form of self-care, it's like, I'm going to quit stalling on my ideas and my dreams, right? Like, because it's also stressful to look back and look at things that you want to do and you haven't started it yet, right? And look back at things you want to do and then see somebody else doing the same exact idea you had, and they're blowing up at it, right? And being like, man, like, and so this is what I mean when I say self-care is a lifestyle, because even that, it makes you make decisions differently. Like, if I don't do this and then I see somebody else doing a version of it, is it going to burn me? Let me tell you, my mom told me a story of my godmother who had the idea for grocery delivery, I think back in 1984. Okay. It was like, wouldn't it be great if, people would go to the grocery store for you and bring your groceries to you? Now look at Instacart, right? And I call those like those God ideas. Like, don't you play? Because listen, the idea is going to get brought to life. Either you get to do it or somebody else is going to get to do it, right? And so I just decided, I was like, I'm just, as a form of self-care, I'm just not going to drag my feet on those things anymore. So Madeline says, exactly, yes. 70 says, I've had a couple of the same item on my to-do list for 2 years. I've spent more time regretting not doing these things than it would have taken to get them done. I knew I wasn't the only one. You know what I'm saying? I know I'm not the only one that has experienced that. But when you think about it now, that procrastination is just a delayed decision. That's all procrastination. It's a delayed decision. You have got to decide. Either decide I'm gonna let it go and I'm just not gonna do it, or I'm gonna do it. But that indecision, I said it before, indecision is the mother of anxiety, right? And so what happens is when you see it 2 years later, you feel a little twinge, right? Right. And then the language that you start speaking to yourself is not the most positive. I can't believe this still been on that to-do list. I could have been done, got it done. Right. And so now the language to yourself is not the most positive. Right. And so I just told myself, I was like, I'm going to stop treating myself that way. Like, I love me. right? Like, I'm going to treat myself well. Even when it comes down to those things, again, that's that self-care first lifestyle. So thank you for sharing that, right? Because, letting everybody know we're not the only two, okay, that have looked at things and been like, I could have been. And it's like I was saying yesterday about there, being a layer of money all around you. I think about the things now that have made me, and it's not just about the money, but it is about the money because it's business. I think about the things that have made me a ton of money and look back and been like, that thing sat in my journal for 5 years, 6 years, 8 years, 10 years, whatever, right? And then I also think about all the people that it could have helped. When I remember I had a client tell me, and it always makes me a little bit emotional, like not in a negative way, in a good way. But I remember her, she's in her third year of working with me. And I remember her saying, like, she told one of my newer clients, she was like, working with Chef Evelyn, she was like, yes, my business has grown. Yes, I made more money. She was like, but she gave me my life back. And that comment for somebody to say that you helped them get their life back. Imagine if I was still sitting on it. Imagine if I hadn't gone and got help. Imagine if I hadn't gotten the coach who told me to create the program that she has decided to repeat for the third time, right? I can't even imagine like the people that I haven't served, whether it's been through this videos or through my coaching program, thing like that. So Madeline says, I've been with the same vision board for 2 years. Yeah, right. And here's the thing, and I tell people there's nothing special about January 1st. We've heard that. What does January 1st have? I saw somebody post this on social media today. What does January 1st have that today doesn't? It just takes the power of a made up mind. And like, again, like, I thank you for sharing that to let people know that we're not alone. Let me tell you, 2021 was the first year in a long time that I decided not to do a vision board. And I did a video on my other channel about it. And I was like, why I'm not doing a vision board this year. I got more done from the power of a made up mind than I ever did from a decade's worth of a vision board. And here's the thing, I think vision boards are powerful, but vision boards minus that system, minus that strategy to implement the things, minus them, here we go, accountability to get it done. It's just an arts and craft project. Oh, I said it. I said it in love, and I have been guilty of it. Vision boards without strategy, systems, and accountability are just arts and crafts projects, right? Stephanie says that's powerful. I think you're talking about my client who said I helped give her life back. Yeah, when she started working with me, she still has her full-time corporate job. And she was eating bad, not taking care of herself. She wasn't dating. She wasn't, she would take it, of course she would go to Four Seasons, the spa here, and take this girl's trip here, right? But like, she wasn't really living. She wasn't resting consistently. She wasn't charging her worth. She's such, I won't even say a different woman. She's so much more of herself now. And like, to know that I had a small piece in that, I won't wait on another idea. It's like when I had the idea for this series, right? And I thought, normally, I think I said this in like the first week. Normally, if I have an idea like this, I'll sit down and I'll map it out and I'll strategize and, okay, I wanted to do this and I wanted to do that. And I was like, yeah, somebody needs this series. And I said to myself, I said, there are 10 women. There are 10 women who need a year of them. They need a year of them. Their business, self-care, lifestyle, they need a year of them. And I was like, my job is to show up and say what I'm led to say And I know that the 10 women that these videos are meant for the year-long chef table, I know that these videos will reach them. I really have that belief because I know, I was like, somebody needs to hear something different. Somebody needs something different, that, you know, they've been either on the fence, they've not been taking care of themselves, they know they need a plan, they've been stressed out, they've been anxious, they've been this, they've been that. And it's not 50 women, and it's not 60 women, and it's not 30 women, it's 10. And I just said, okay, I said, I'm going to go live. I said, and I'm going to talk about self-care for women culinary entrepreneurs. And I was like, and I know that when we get started in January, I will be starting with 10 women, because that's what it's about. It's like, and I think that's what how people misunderstand sales. Like, even in your business, when it comes to their clients, there's somebody who's looking to celebrate their anniversary, or celebrating their kid being healthy, or celebrating, you know, whatever the case may be, right? And sometimes if we don't understand that we are a element to somebody's memory, we will totally miss out. You know, when I used to run a cooking school for this company, it was like an award-winning cooking school. It was like amazing company, right? And I remember telling my chefs that worked for me, I was like, I know you think this is just a cooking class, but I was like, you don't know why people are here. And I remember running down to them like some examples. I said, we had one regular client that he came every Tuesday. Oh, y'all, I'm super mushy. This is gonna make me emotional. He was autistic, and other places wouldn't take him. He was 25 years old. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. He was 25 years old, and other places wouldn't take him. And so his mom brought him every Tuesday. And I remember I would write a menu. Hold on. I would write a new menu every Tuesday, and make sure I had a different class every Tuesday, because I knew he was going to be there. Because she was like, you know, she was like, Tuesday is the only nights that I have available to take him somewhere. He loves to cook. He knows that y'all are going to be patient with him or whatever. And for the 3.5 years that I was there, I made sure that he had a different class every Tuesday. There was we had another regular, and he was an elderly gentleman, and he came regularly because his wife of, like, I think 40 years had passed away, and he never learned how to cook. She did all the cooking. And so he was trying to learn how to cook in his elderly years, right? You know, I've had couples that have come. I remember we had a couple that would come from time to time because her husband had Alzheimer's, and like, but he could still remember how to cook, right? And she was like, I want to do this with him as much as possible until he can't do it anymore. And so I think about, if that's what was happening with just cooking classes, right? Or we had couples that they were like, this is our date night. They were like, it's like dinner and a show. They had been married for 30 something years, and they came all the time. They were the sweetest couple. And all the other people that you don't know why they were there, right? Maybe they didn't share. You know, I had another couple that would come to my classes, and it was so sweet to watch because the husband was blind, but he loved to cook because he wasn't always blind, right? And so the wife would be there helping them, and they knew that we were going to be patient and work with, like, and so I thought to myself, I said, if this is what cooking classes are doing, if I ever took all of the ideas, that I've had, that wanting to help women with their business and their lifestyle, so they can really like live the lives that they've been dreaming of, because I figured out how to do it. I did the hard work. I did the trial and error, and distill it down into a step-by-step process to take that stress, to take that anxiety off of it. That's priceless. That's priceless. And so I didn't mean to get emotional, but like I remember my chefs, like when I started breaking it down to them, like these are the things that are happening, that is happening, right? When you are doing what you're doing, you do not know why, right? I remember I did a private dinner party. It was the last private dinner party I did, right? And I remember I had kind of stopped doing dinner parties, but this was a special request. It was a previous client of mine. It was a referral, and that client was blind, and she had went blind in her adult age, and so she wanted to thank her family for just being there for her, for the support. Now, if you don't take the time to ask, you just would have thought, all this family's getting together and this girl just happens to be blind, and or whatever. But like, it had really been a journey. Like, I think she had like kidney transplant, like all types of stuff had happened. And basically she wanted to thank her family. And, like I take that very seriously. That's people's lives. And so I knew that the years that I've been holding the chef's table in the inside, what if my coach never decided to be a coach and never told me, you need to offer that because there are women who are looking for you the same way you were looking for me, right? And and I feel the same thing about my clients. I know that they are creating things that may just seem fun on the surface, but somebody wants and needs and is looking for the ideas that they have in their head, and or needs to see them live out their dream, or needs to see them be successful in entrepreneurship for a myriad of reasons, even some that I may never know of. And imagine if I was like, I don't want to do it. I'm gonna just keep over here DIYing myself, figuring it out, struggling, blah, blah, blah. Like, can you imagine? Right? If my coach had never become a coach, and if I had never invested with her, and I mean invested with her, okay, and she never, I wouldn't even be here, having this dialogue with you today. So, anyway, I'm going to, I'll take questions or comments for about the next 3 or 4 minutes, and then I'm going to wrap up because I get to meet with my group of one-on-one clients today. Today is our day. We meet twice a month in a group, and then twice a month one-on-one. But all of my one-on-one spots are filled until the end of 2022. I only have space now for the 10 women that will be in the Chef's Tables group experience. And applications are open for that. So if you feel like you're one of the 10 women, I say don't hesitate. Get your application in, schedule your call. My new website is live, so it should make it much easier to navigate. If you go to chefevelyn.com/program, I'll put it in the chat, /program. It'll give you the details on how to apply. If you're like, and if you know, and let me tell you this, I know sometimes people are concerned about like the investment. And I would tell you, I remember the day that I wanted to go to culinary school. Like, I remember the day sitting on the edge of the bed and I felt like an audible voice was like, it's time to go to culinary school. And I remember thinking at the time, like, I do not have the time, nor do I have the money to go to culinary school. And I was like, you know what? And this is me. I'm a faith person. I was like, well, if God is telling me to go, he must gonna work it out, right? So I said, okay, let me at least go apply, put in the applications, put in my application fees, see what they're talking about. And so I remember, I applied to a couple of different culinary schools, and I finally, decided on one. And I remember thinking, like, I just being confused on how this was going to work. I was like going through the process thinking, I'm traveling 70% of the time for work. It's really not in my budget. I don't know how this is going to work. And then I remember, I think if you've been watching my channel for a while, I've told this story before, that they made a mistake with my financial aid. And so about a year into the program, they were like, hey, we have to rescind all the loans that we gave you, and you now owe us $24,000. And this was a month after I had quit my engineering job, right? A month after, I was like, how y'all gonna tell me now? You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't have quit my engineering job. You know what I'm saying? If I would have known this was gonna happen. Long story short, I probably cried for a good 30 minutes to an hour. And then I was like, you know what? I'm not going to worry about this. I was like, you know what? I know this was the plan for me. I know this is where I'm supposed to be going. I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So I don't know. God, you're going to have to figure it out. And several weeks went by. I couldn't enroll in the next semester because, you know, if you have balance on the books, you can't enroll. And I remember they came back to me and was like, okay, I tell you what, since we made a mistake, we'll pay for half, right? We'll pay for half of the $24,000. You pay $12,000, we'll pay $12,000. I was like, oh my God, that's so amazing. But I don't have it. I don't have $12,000 just laying around, right? And they were like, okay, we'll figure something out, right? And then I remember they came back and they were like, okay, we'll let you do a payment plan, okay? Which I was like, great, a payment plan makes things so much more available in the reach. But I was like, I don't have it. I was like, I don't have a job. I just quit my job. And that's a bridge that is burned, okay, like torched, like ashes, okay? And so I remember they came back to me and they said, you know what? You're such a good student. We made a mistake. We will scholarship you all $24,000. And you can go ahead and enroll and finish our culinary school. And I remember thinking, what if I would have never enrolled because I would have been like, I don't know how this is gonna work. And for me, like I said, I'm a faith person. God provided, not in the way that I thought, but I was like, I will take it. And I basically ended up going to culinary school for free. So, you know, I don't know who that story was for. But anyway, if there are no questions, if there are no comments, I want to thank you for your time. I really got to get these under 30 minutes because I just be on here talking. I am going to rest my voice to get ready to do some good coaching and teaching on Q1. We're actually going from their Q1 goals today, and we're getting into their Q1 action plans and their systems and strategies for Q1. So I'm super, super excited about that. And so I want to make sure that I am fully present because I give them like the step-by-step. We work on their individual businesses and we go through and we map out their plans, marketing, lead generation, client retention, pricing, all of that, plus also making sure that their life is well supported in the process. So thank you so much. If you are curious about the Chef's Table, you can go to chefevelyn.com/program. All the details are there. If you're one of the 10, I look forward to talking to you soon. All right, y'all have a good night. Bye.